Nominee, congratulations. I'm one of the many Ghanaians who are very happy to see you where you are seated this morning. Nominee, I've worked with you in the 7th Parliament and in the 8th Parliament as my leader on the Foreign Affairs Committee. And I appreciate the leadership skills and knowledge that you bring to where you are sitting this morning. When you get to the ministry, what would be some of your priority areas?
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Okudzeto, and thank you for the kind words and the tremendous support you gave me for 8 years on the Foreign Affairs Committee as my deputy ranking. I have just talked about one of the priority areas, economic diplomacy, pursuing bilateral agreements to create jobs for the young people of our country in a regulated migration that benefits the individual and the country. The other thing that I want to reform is our passport regime. There are too many complaints about how difficult it is to get passports and to get them in good time. I have been going through some briefs, and I noticed that we have a backlog of over 70,000 passports that have not been collected. Then there are issues with the middlemen, Goro boys, and all of that. I recall the former foreign minister, the Honorable Sheila Yokobuchi, storming the passport office in frustration and saying that, look, this crisis cannot continue. I would like to use technology to reform our passport regime. I don't think that we should still be requiring Ghanaians who have a Ghana card to go to passport office for their biometrics. This system of silos.
Honorable nominee, the question was your priority areas. You mentioned economic diplomacy, and you mentioned passport acquisition. If there is any other, mention it to us so that we can make progress.
Well, thank you, Chairman. I thought that you would be interested in the details, how I'm going to implement these reforms. So just to be brief, I get your cue. I would want to engage the Ministry of Communications. I've already started talks with the Honorable Sam George, so that you don't need to go to a passport application center if you have a Ghana card. We should be able to interface. It should be possible to sit at home, apply for your passport. And then also, I want to end this business of going back to the passport office for your passport. It's so outmoded. We can engage courier services to send your passport to you at home or in the office. So modernizing the whole regime as we move from the current biometric to chip embedded passports will be a department that will focus on delivery, the delivery unit. I want us to give clear KPIs to our ambassadors and our high commissioners. Now, where we are in the current global ecosystem, you can't be relying on aid, relying on loans, relying on other countries. Let's aggressively pursue economic diplomacy. When we send you there as an ambassador, it's not just to be attending events. You must bring us something home that will impact the lives of the people. How many investors are you bringing in? How many industries? FDI, and all of that. So they will be giving clear KPIs. Because if you look at last year's budget, we spent more than 875 million Ghana cedis on our foreign service staff alone. That's almost $1 billion. And you ask yourself, these 71 missions out there, what are they bringing in? And that is why many people think foreign affairs is so removed, is so abstract. What do we even get from foreign ministry? We are going to change that perception. Clear KPIs, you must bring something home. If within 1 year we are not seeing benefits, you will be reshuffled, so that we'll send in ambassadors who will be more dynamic, who will be proactive in our national interest.
Thank you. Any further question?
Mr. Chair, I think the nominee has done well with my question. I don't have any more questions. I just want to congratulate him. And once again, I want to say I'm very happy to see you where you are. And I want to thank His Excellency John Dramani Mahama for your nomination. Thank you.
Thank you. I proceed to give the floor to Honorable Abujinapo. Please. Honorable Abujinapo, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, let me begin by congratulating the Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa for his nomination to this very high office as, and occupying the shoes of statesmen like Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, Obeda Samoa, Victor Gbeho, and the rest, especially at his age, is quite a significant achievement. And warm congratulations, honorable nominee. Mr. Chairman, Ghana's policy, foreign policy, since 1957, has essentially been non-aligned. And as the nominee himself articulated in one of his responses, if I would say, we neither look left or right, we look forward, and we don't take sides. Indeed, if you look at the NDC manifesto, specifically page 160, you will see that that same policy is articulated. And then President Mahama, in his inaugural address, also reiterates the point. Mr. Chairman, I've followed the nominee. I've read most of his articles, his presentations, news articles about him and all of that. And it is clear on the evidence that the nominee is a leftist. He's a leftist. I would say he's a socialist. I will refrain myself from saying that he's a communist. I will refrain myself from saying so. You will see, Mr. Chairman, that the nominee, for example, wrote a tribute to His Excellency John Pombi Makafuli and delivered it on the floor of Parliament when he died on 17th March 2021. And therefore, Mr. Chairman, the nominee's views are known as a radical left. How is he going to marry his obvious personal, ideological leanings and inclinations, which he's on many occasions said he's very proud of, in wiggling his way through this complex international geopolitics of the left and right as it relates to Ghana's policy of non-aligned? Thank you.
This question could have been asked without making reference to all those documents. Please proceed to answer the question.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chairman, let me place on record that I am not a communist. Of course, I am left of center. All of us in the NDC subscribe to the left of center political ideology, which we are very, very proud of. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has worn the badge proudly because we believe in the welfare state and we believe in humanism to our economic interventions that don't encourage exploit elites. So you are right about where I belong ideologically, left of center, which is where my party, the NDC, belongs. So I am very much at home. Having said that, let us remember Kwame Nkrumah's tact and skillful approach to our foreign policy. Kwame Nkrumah was on the left, but he managed to, at the height of the Cold War, a bipolar era, to still get the Americans to support him in the construction of the Akosombo Dam, and to still have the Russians to help him in building our atomic agency. So that model is what we must adopt. So our friends know where we belong ideologically, but they respect us and they know that we don't mean harm or we don't bear grudge or have any malice. We are friends of all and enemies to none. So be rest assured that even though I have left leanings, I will be very objective in pursuing our foreign policy, which Article 40 says must be guided by our national interests. Kwame Nkrumah did it, President Mahama has been doing it, receiving support from all sides. And in the current multipolar world, be rest assured that I will attend to this responsibility with all fairness and objectivity. Note from my CV that in the 8th Parliament, I was chair of the Ghana-Cuba Parliamentary Friendship Association, but also very active in our U.S. Ghana Parliamentary Friendship Association. Indeed, a proud member of the American Council of Young Political Leaders. So there are a few of us who straddle and who are liked by all sides because we are very objective in our dealings. So be rest assured, I consider myself a good friend of all the forces at play in the global arena.
Chairman, that is reassuring, and I think, Chairman, it's important that we lay the proper foundations before we ask the questions so that both the nominee and the country...
Please don't litigate with me.
No, I'm not litigating, Chairman. I'm just... So I have a follow-up question. Now, again, Mr. Chairman, the nominee is on record to have, you know, if you want, not so much criticized, but raise substantive and significant issues with Ukraine as opposed to the West in the Ukraine-Russian war. And I have an article here where the nominee indicates that the war between Russia and Ukraine, which has been roundedly condemned by all international organizations, the United Nations, Africa Union, ECOWAS, and the rest, is as a result of Ukrainians' failure of foreign policy. Mr. Chairman, also the nominee is on record to have taken issues in conflict. And the point I seek to make is that the nominee is obviously, in his years of activism, taking sides in these two major international conflicts of the world. If he gets the nod of this committee and parliament, how is he going to navigate his way through this complex issue of Ukraine-Russian war, Palestinian-Israeli war, mindful of its rippling effects in the global geopolitics? How's he going to do that? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and let me commend the Honorable Abu Jinapo for the well-researched question. The challenge that we all face, I've served on the appointments committee, is that you have to summarize, and so you can't read these articles in full. But those who will want to pay regard to the articles, you see that I try to be very objective and balanced and more nuanced than the summary.
The conclusion, whether you've taken sides, is he correct?
No, the conclusion is far-fetched. I have not taken sides. And Mr. Chairman, I know you'll be happy to hear that I have been invited by both sides. There are probably few people who have achieved that. The Russians invited me, and I was guest in their parliament. There was a second invitation where I went with former President Mahama to launch his book at the Russian Academy of Sciences, the Russian translation. And then the Ukrainians invited me. I spent a week there. We were, touring Kiev and other places. We went to the landmines. I helped them to even demine, some of the Russian mines that had been left in Ukraine. So that should tell you, the countries don't have any issues with me. Israel has invited me on a number of occasions. The Palestinians have also done that. Indeed, the Palestinian ambassador in Ghana is one of my very, very good friends. And so is the Israeli ambassador. So please be rest assured that despite my ideological stance on these matters, you will see objectivity. But Article 40 is clear. We must also, in the pursuit of our foreign policy, be guided by international law, a rule-based order, international principles. So where our friends err, we should be bold to point it out. Because as Nkrumah said on the 16th of December 1959, when he presented our foreign policy to Parliament, he said that we will not be passive spectators, that as good friends, when you err, when you commit genocide, when you commit atrocities against women and children, we will point it out to you. And it does not make us bad friends. It rather, makes us very, very good friends. So that's the position I take on these matters.
Thank you very much. Your last question? Or you have a follow-up on this?
This was a follow-up on the first question.
It cannot be.
No, it was.
It cannot be.
I said so that it was a follow-up.
No.
Mr.
The
Chairman.
fact that you said so doesn't mean it should be a follow-up.
No, it was
Please,
a follow-up.
ask a follow-up question
Chairman.
whether he is taking sides in these various wars that we have mentioned. Please go ahead with the follow-up question on this.
Mr. Chairman, respectfully, I asked a question about his leanings on taking sides, and I made a follow-up on the specific issue of whether or not you take sides. It was all about taking sides. Thank you.
Was how is he going to marry?
No, it was taking sides. And then I gave a specific example, whether you take sides.
Please, your last question.
Last question.
If you have a follow-up on this, I will allow it.
Mr. Chairman, no. This is it. I can give you the documentations I use. No, because it's a follow-up. It was a follow-up on the first question. Thank you. So, Mr. Chairman, the question I want to ask the nominee, which is the second question, is the nominee, if he's given the nod as foreign minister, as I said initially, it's a very high office. And as he himself has been articulating, it will require, in his words, rules-based. It will require a lot of fairness, objectivity, and all of that. Mr. Chairman, on 23rd December 2024, the nominee made a post where he alleged that unimpeachable evidence from the Lands Commission shows that the two daughters of President Akufo-Addo have acquired some state lands in cantonments, and that amounted to state capture. Mr. Chairman, the company which was the subject matter of this allegation was Nsunam Company Limited. Mr. Chairman, a search at the Lands Commission will show that the land in question is the property of administrators of the estate of Justice, the late Justice Johnson Sribo, a former justice of the Supreme Court and chairman of the Electoral Commission, who acquired the land as far back as 1969, specifically on 1st June 1969. And indeed, Mr. Chairman, at the time, the president's children were not even born. The subject matter land was acquired by the state, Mr. Chairman, as far back as 1869, and the lease will end in 2069. So clearly, this land is not state land. The president's children did not buy state land. On the evidence, on the record, it is absolutely clear that they did not buy state land. Will the nominee concede, given that he's seeking to be foreign minister and will be required to be fair to all manner of persons, that the president's children were wrongly accused and he will apologize to them? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, your quick answer.
Well, thank you very much for the question. The Honorable Abu Jinapo will recall that when I put out that article, I supported the article with evidence from the Lands Commission. I attached an official search that I had conducted on those two lands. Indeed, those are lands that you have in Somnam and then the lot boutique, a fashion boutique. And I sought to inquire from the Lands Commission the status, the ownership of the land. And the Lands Commission responded in that official search, which I published. And Ghanaians can go on my social media handles, you see the official search results, where the Lands Commission, in their response, indicated that all those lands are government lands. So in my article, I asked a question. Is this another state capture? Is President Akufo-Addo allocating state lands to his daughters? Had told me in writing as official search results. When apologize on this matter, we need to probably be discussing reforming the Lands Commission. You were Lands Minister. If you think that the Lands Commission misled me, you need to join us with ideas on how to reform the Lands Commission, get their data to be more accurate, so that when we conduct official search, what they tell us, the reports that they give us, their search certificates, are not misleading. Because all of the facts you put out, I don't know them. In 1979, I wasn't born.
Thank you.
So the Lands Commission told me they are government lands, and I have the documents here.
Thank you.
To confirm
Thank you
that. So
very much. Thank you very much.
it's not my fault.
Any follow-up on the land acquisition?
Mr. Chairman, my follow-up will be that I have in my hands, and this is all about government lands. Of course, I mean, the nominee is literally established and conceded that the president's daughter did not buy state lands. If they were government lands as far back as 1969, they were not state lands at the time when they were tenants, as you know, they are tenants of that place.
Please,
but
your
anyway,
follow-up question.
the follow-up
Please, your follow-up question.
Mr. Chairman, please, this being a house of records, I have not admitted.
I know.
I
This
haven't
being
said
House
that.
of Record,
I'm
you've
saying
never-
that
you never
the
admitted.
record I have, what the Lands Commission gave me,
Therefore,
when I
you
conduct
won't
official
rescind your
search.
decision
Yes.
and apologize.
So
Please,
I'm
go ahead with
I'm
your
not
question.
changing my stance on the matter.
I've not litigated that. I will not litigate that. All that I said was that the evidence is clear that the land was bought as far back as 1969. The president's children are just tenants, so they did not buy state land. That's the point I'm making. It's not, I'm not litigating with you, Mr. Nominee. I'm just setting the record straight that they did not buy state land as you suggested. So, Mr. Chairman, the follow-up will be, and this really is flowing from the issue of the nominees' standing and reputation on the protection of public funds, state lands, and all of that. And the question is simple. I mean, I know the chairman is in a hurry to move on with his vetting.
So long
question
as
is
the
simple.
question relates to the acquisition as a follow-up, I will allow it.
Yes.
But if not, I will overrule you.
Well, it relates to the protection of state estates, generally speaking. And the question is very simple. In that protection, Mr. Chairman, you will see that the nominee has, on multiple occasions, asked for, quotes, the state to eschew frivolous foreign travels by government officials, end quote, and gone at great length to make the point about how we need to be frugal. I know that the foreign minister travels on first-class ticket. Will he travel on economy ticket when he's made foreign minister?
Accordingly, the question is overruled. There can be a follow-up question on acquisition of land. You are done. I then give the floor to Honorable Ziwera. Honorable Ziwera, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the opportunity to congratulate my boss and my mentor and to wish him well. Congratulations, Honorable Ablakwa. Your leadership has been exemplary. Mr. Chairman, I served with Honorable Ablakwa on the Foreign Affairs Committee. And if you looked for a team player, you'll find it in Honorable Ablakwa. Honorable Ablakwa, extent of knowledge in the foreign ministry and international relations makes him the best choice, actually, for this position. And I want to commend highly President Mahama for giving us this choice. We know that with your extensive experience, with your knowledge, and with your excellent human relations, you are going to lift the flag of Ghana very high in the Committee of Nations. I can only wish you well, and I say congratulations, Honorable Ablakwa. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Honorable
thank
Joel.
you. Order. Order, thank you. Order. Order. I proceed to give the floor to Honorable Sowa.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable nominee, my Anglican brother, I wish to congratulate you on your and I trust that you are going to deliver well to the people of Ghana. My question, how will you make our embassies and high commissions more responsive to Ghanaians in the diaspora?
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Odole. I call her the MP with the most embassies in Ghana. Virtually all the embassies and high commissions are in her constituency. This is a very, very important question, and Ghanaians in the diaspora are really concerned about how our embassies and high commissions can be more responsive. As ranking member, I advocated strongly for the establishment of a consular fund. I was shocked to learn that our hardworking foreign service staff have to sometimes contribute their own money from their pockets to assist distressed Ghanaians out there who need consular assistance. In the budget for the Foreign Service, we don't have a line item for consular relations. And you know, under the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations, 1963, countries must extend these courtesies to their citizens. So, as Foreign Minister, when given the nod, I will make sure that we establish the consular fund. We must make sure that this fund exists, that can be assessed by our foreign service staff to extend assistance, particularly in this period where the United States has announced mass deportations. Those who may be rounded up to be deported are entitled to consular support. We must get them legal assistance so that they are not just rounded up and deported, their rights violated. You know, sometimes even in the deportation, how they are deported, sometimes chained to seats and all of that, treated as criminals. That is a violation of their human rights. It affronts their dignity. And these are matters that I will pursue forcefully. So we will seek to establish the consular fund. And in the KPIs that we will be drafting for our diplomats, we will also make sure that they prioritize the needs, the concerns, and the plight of Ghanaians who are living abroad. Because really, why establish an embassy if you cannot take care of Ghanaians within that jurisdiction? So that will be a priority area. And I thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you. I'm sure our brothers and sisters out there will be excited about your response. I wish to wish you well on your appointment as the Foreign Minister for the Republic of Ghana, and I pray God's blessings for you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I proceed to recognize Honorable Amprechum.
Thank you, Chairman, for this opportunity. Honorable Sami, we meet again. Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, MP for the good people of Northton. You are at the verge of becoming the #3 diplomat of this great country of Ghana, after His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the President, Her Excellency Jane Nana Opuku-Adjumah, the Vice President. Honorable nominee, permit me to remind you that the international arena that you are going to operate in and the diplomatic circles that you are going to engage in is very different from the political terrain that you have been dancing with your propaganda theatrics.
Honorable member, you haven't started well. You are out of order. I will give you the floor to start well.
Thank you.
Else I will rule you out.
We have worked and engaged. I have worked and engaged with you on the Foreign Affairs Committee for 8 years, including the last 4 years as the immediate past Deputy Foreign Minister for Political and Economic Affairs. And I can say, without any shred of doubt, that you have the capacity and the capabilities to rise up to the responsibilities of the position of the Minister for Foreign Affairs. If, and only if, you change your suit of sometimes giving disinformation. And I have two references as my basis for making that point, and it's extremely important, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. The question is overruled. Ask another question.
Mr. Ablakwa, some 3 or 4 years back, you started a crusade when the ministry was about to purchase a chancellery in Oslo. You came up with all kinds of stories that eventually turned out to be untrue. Eventually, it encouraged a Norwegian lawyer to take Ghana government to court, which eventually ended up in the Supreme Court of Norway. Even though we won it, it cost us a lot of money because of what you did, the information that you put out there, which, like I said, encouraged the Norwegian lawyer to pursue a matter which he had no case.
Order.
That is number one. Number two, recently,
please,
you
are you
also
asking one question or you are asking two questions at the same time?
No. Mr. Chairman, I am laying the foundation for the question. Please. I'm laying the foundation for the question. Without the foundation, it will be difficult for me to ask the particular question that I want to ask. Now, so the first one was to do with the Norwegian, the purchase of the Norwegian chancellery. The second one, recently, you put out that the ministry has signed up with a company, Access Citizen Ghana Limited, which are supposed to provide front-end premium consular services, just like the services being provided by VFS. And Access Ghana is providing that services to some. Your accusation was that some corrupt government was being shortchanged. There is no truth in this particular matter. Now, in the course of making these allegations, you indicated, and it's constantly something that you've been doing, that you have intercepted. I have intercepted documents. Now, here is the case that you are coming to work in a ministry where you have constantly been saying that you have intercepted, which presupposes that some staff in the ministry has been giving you these documents, or you have been encouraging it. Confidential documents. All the staff in there have signed up to an oath of secrecy and confidentiality. And you are constantly out there saying that you have intercepted. you have intercepted, putting these officers in very difficult situations. Now that you are coming to work in this particular ministry, how would you take it if documents are leaked and it's being encouraged by, let's say, an outsider?
Honorable Amprachum, what is your question?
I have asked it.
Honorable member, go ahead and answer the question.
No?
Devoid of the
Well, that
aspect
is your
of
understanding.
how you are
Unfortunately, he
intercepting the
understands you.
documents.
He understands.
Go ahead, answer the questions devoid of how you intercept the documents, because of what I've always been saying, that we have the Whistleblowers Act.
Well, thank you very much. Is probably aspiring to become the next chief interceptor. Let me, on a more serious note, assure the good people of this country that all I have done in my interceptions, in my oversight, in pursuing parliamentary due diligence has always been in the national
Honorable
interest.
members, let me place on record that I don't want any disruption today. If you are not a member of the committee and you can't comport yourself, kindly walk out.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, as I was saying, all the interceptions, the parliamentary oversight, the due diligence I have carried out as MP and ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee has been in the national interest. Indeed, many Ghanaians have celebrated me for saving this country's billions of dollars,
Yes,
not cedis.
I remember you
dollars.
mentioned you
I
made
can go
mention
through
of
a
it during
long
our
list of
Sunday's
over 100
online meeting.
exposés,
Yeah, so
which
I
have
think I
saved
get
this
that
country
clearly. Yeah, I
billions
get
of
that clearly.
dollars.
Not
And
all
I would have
14
thought
people
that
necessarily
my
have to
colleague will be commending
be
me
on set,
for saving
but
this
it depends
country
on the
billions of dollars.
the script that we have
On the
play
specific
and
matters
then,
you raised,
what we need to put together. So I rightfully get you.
Oslo
Thank you.
Chancery purchase. Again, I should be commended that I saved this country $12.2 million. Remember that you had appeared before us that you were going to purchase that chancery. You brought us the information that you were about to purchase that chancery based on the $50 million facility that the Honorable Hannah Tete secured before she left the ministry. I then decided to carry out due diligence. And in the work that I did, not being an armchair ranking member who is told that we are going to buy a chancery and then I give you approval, blank check, yeah, go ahead, go and buy it. When I did the due diligence, I discovered that the property had been purchased a few months before Ghana was going to buy it for $12.2 million, for $4 million. And I raised alarm. Indeed, the court documents that I have read, and you rightly confirmed that the Norwegian property owner took the government of Ghana to court. The defense of Ghana is that your ministry, the foreign ministry, did not authorize the official who went to commit Ghana. And that is why Ghana then won the case, and that official was chastised that she didn't have the full approval and authorization to go purchase that chancery. So what I put out was not false. It was fact. The court documents confirm it. You yourself told the judges, the Attorney General, Godfrey Dame, represented us in the Norwegian courts and said that that foreign service official did not have your authorization. The court records are there. I can produce them if the chairman wants to see them. So it's a confirmation of what I put out. And I should rather be commended because, but for me, if what you told the court is true, it means you wouldn't have known that your officials in Norway were committing you to this outrageous purchase, which will have cost Ghana money. So please commend me. I saved Ghana money. Then on access, the visa deal. I'm again surprised that you say that that matter is not true. And you see, you can't have it both ways. You can't be complaining about leaks, that people are leaking documents to me from the ministry. And at the same time, you say that I'm just engaged in, putting out a figment of my imagination, I can confirm today, when I was briefed by the directors at the ministry, is that that whole transaction did not follow due process. It did not follow the Procurement Act. If it was PPA, if it was a PPP arrangement, it required parliamentary approval. Well, all of that was not followed. So they showed me documents confirming that the ministry has rescinded, has backed out of that they were no longer into you. But we do it not with malice, not because we don't like you. It's just love for country. As I always say, for God and country. It's a tough job. I'm not happy that so some of you will not like me and all of that. But somebody has to do it. Somebody has to step in and save the country money. And that's my only motivation. All the scandals I've put out have been confirmed. Even, indeed, those who even went to court seeking to take me on, they lost. Check all the court cases. Because I make sure that I always secure unimpeachable, irrefutable, and incontrovertible evidence before I put these matters out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further question?
Question. Mr. Chairman, I go back to this 38 million. It is not true that you have saved Ghana $38 million because Ghana was not going
Honorable member, it is not for you to establish, it is not for you to establish whether it is true or it is not true. If you want to go that tangent, we may not be able to. You have asked a question, the nominee has provided the answer. So how do we create the opportunity for you to say it is not true? He also say it is true. So please take his answer, whether true or not. So proceed to answer, to ask another question.
With all due respect, in that particular transaction, Ghana government was not going to pay any money. That is the point I am making. So if Ghana government is not going to pay any money, how do you save Ghana government that money? That is the point I'm making.
So is that your question?
That is the point I was just trying to clarify.
You are not here to make a point. You can put that to him as a question, and then you can elicit the answer.
Okay. Mr. Nominee, would you agree with me that was the investigation that you did, and you said the briefing that you had from the officers at the ministry, you came to the conclusion that you did save Ghana the 38 million, and that Ghana was going to pay the 38 million. And if that was the case, can you please tell the committee how that payment was going to happen or come about? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your response, please.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Chairman. I thought that the former Honorable Deputy Minister will confirm that they have backed out of that agreement since my expose. I think that's a more fundamental point, that if you felt that nothing untoward had happened, that everything was kosher, that it was a good deal, why did you run away from it when, I did the expose? So,
please, you are not entitled to ask him questions. So provide answers,
yes, Chairman,
to the question he asked.
I appreciate the guidance. So let's be clear. The $38 million is what Access, the company, stood to benefit from that agreement, based on the percentage that will go to that company. If the current arrangement is maintained, where the embassies are allowed to carry out their visa processing, that money comes to Ghana, which is the current arrangement. That is why the head of missions were not happy about this arrangement, because Ghana was going to lose money. You were taking money out of the missions, out of IGF, for a private entity. That was the nature of the transaction. That is why I conclude, based on the conservative analysis we did, that we have saved Ghana $38 million. And I can make the agreement available, Mr. Chairman, if the committee would want to see it.
Thank you very much. Any further questions, or you are done?
There are further questions. I don't want to go there again, because I was highly involved in this particular matter that he's spoken about. Mr. Chairman, I will want to ask the nominee, honorable nominee, in the international multilateral arena. It is changing rapidly. Big alliances are reshaping in a very dynamic ways. How do you plan to champion a strong African representation in the international systems?
Well, thank you very much for this well-informed question. And I wish I had 1 hour to answer this, but I certainly don't. You are right.
Please, did you say you need 1 hour to answer the question?
I said I certainly don't have that. So
please.
So, Mr. Chairman, first of all, the changing global dynamics have to be appreciated. We are clearly now in a multipolar world. We've moved from unipolar to bipolar. Now we are in multipolar. We are seeing the growing influence of the BRICS countries. Some of our citizens are even beginning to mount pressure that perhaps we should join BRICS, just as Nigeria did a few weeks ago. And we all know that BRICS is now presenting very interesting options. They have the new development bank, which has about $100 billion available in there. A combined GDP of about 27 trillion US dollars, 40% of the world's population. So in terms of market, that is a large market share. And we all know that our biggest trading partner now is China. And China is at the center, is right in there in this BRICS arrangement. So I think that Africa should really come to this table in a united way. Imagine what we can achieve, as Osajifo said, if we unite. At the UN, for example, the African bloc is the biggest bloc. We have more votes at the UN, but unfortunately we are not united. We don't vote in a particular way. Different, considerations. And it's the same challenge even with trade. Intra-Africa trade is still hovering under 20%. We trade more with Europe and Asia than we trade amongst ourselves. A very, very sad situation. And that's why Kwame Nkrumah muted the idea of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area in Addis Ababa in 1963. It took more than 40 years for it to now be coming into fruition, albeit in a very slow pace. So my response to you will be that let us unite. And I'm glad that President Mahama has so much goodwill. Look at the number of heads of states who attended his inauguration. And already he has so many invitations. He's just returned from Tanzania, Kenya, and everybody wants to, host him and have a discussion with him. And I think that he has that potential of not only becoming the focal point, a potential AU chairman, to really galvanize Africa and get the African nations to unite so that together we can have a common position on what the African interests should be. So that would be my approach, going back to the Nkrumah template of Africa must unite. Let's present a common force. And with that, we are talking about a market of about 1.5 billion. You know, if we unite, we will be such a force that nobody can dare mess with us. But the challenge has been disunity. And that is really my philosophical outlook on these matters.
Follow up, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
You just
You are
mentioned
entitled
the
to-
African Continental Free Trade. Yes, Mr. Nominee. Until the NPP government was able to secure the use of Ghana as the base for the AFTA Secretariat, Ghana has been an active member of many multilateral platforms, but hasn't really attracted any significant secretariat comparable to the AU in Addis Ababa, or the UN office in Nairobi, or ECOWAS in Abuja. This is important because the borders are attracting jobs into their countries, or these countries are attracting jobs and opportunities into their countries. As Foreign Minister, how do you plan to leverage this position, Ghana being the Secretariat of AFTA, to attract something tangible into the country?
I mean, certainly I have gone on record in this House to commend your government for securing the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat. And I added, if you recall in that presentation, that it is a testimony of what we can achieve when we unite. I recall that former President Akufo-Addo reached out to former President Mahama, former President Rawlings, God bless his soul, former President Kufuor, and all of us across the divide and said, look, let's form a joint campaign team and campaign for this secretariat. And that is why we were such a formidable force and we secured it. So I'm a bit disappointed that you have tried to partisan it and you have discounted the contributions that all of these former heads of states, particularly from my side of the political divide, did. And don't forget that the reason why it was also easy for Ghana to win the secretariat is because of Ghana's consistency. Kwame Nkrumah had mooted this idea on 25th May 1963, and then in 2012, January 2012, Professor John Evans Atta Mills, a renowned Nkrumahist, revived the discussion at the 18th ordinary session of the AU. He moved the motion that we must go back to the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And that is why heads of state said that, look, Ghana's consistency on this matter, you are deserving to host the secretariat. So I think that it's a collective effort, CPP, NDC, MPP, all of us, and it shouldn't be partisan. But having said that, the thrust of your question is how we can leverage this. We need to make sure that we are hosting and winning. So as we host, we are getting more jobs created. Often there are concerns when these secretariats begin to recruit that it doesn't really favor local. Often get the top jobs, and then, you know, we are left with jobs that are not that rewarding. I intend to engage with the dynamic Secretary General, Wankele Meni, and I think that we should look at a plan on how we can really leverage on hosting, because we are spending so much money hosting. Some of the staff have also expressed concern about their working conditions and all of that. And I think that these are matters we can discuss in confidence and see how we boost employment opportunities for our people.
Because I overrule your first question, you have your last questions to ask.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Ablakwa, I do wish you well. And I know you will succeed. My last question. The African Union seems to have a credibility problem among young Africans, in that it is perceived as weak and toothless on the international stage. For example, in matters regarding the overstay of certain African leaders in power, the countless tragic deaths of African migrants crossing Sahara and the Mediterranean, and in the vocal defense of African interest on the global stage, the organization is found wanting. The AU, unlike the EU, appears to be too timid on behalf of its people. What would you, as foreign minister, do to help change this negative perception about the AU?
Well, thank you very much, Honorable former Minister, for your kind wishes. And I must place on record former Deputy Minister, that you prophesied 8 years ago that I will be Minister of Foreign Affairs. So I was quite surprised when in your earlier submissions you sought to take me on. But, Mr. Chairman, on the more serious note, if the Osagefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was alive, his response to this, your question, will be, I told you so. Remember that when he led the Casablanca group, he wanted a more integral, united African states, a strong political force. He added that we must have a standby force, military force, we must have a bank, we must have a common currency. We must remove all trade barriers, trade tariffs, artificial borders, which are relics of the Berlin Conference when Otto von Bismarck called his friends in Europe and shared Africa amongst themselves. But unfortunately, the Monrovia group prevailed. And they said, let's have a loose union without an Africa standby force, without a bank, and all of these, political structures that the visionary Kwame Nkrumah put forward. So I think at the heart of this perception of the AU is about continental Africa unity and how we must go back to the original Nkrumah blueprint, as was espoused by the Casablanca group. And I am glad that already those talks have begun within the AU. There are massive reforms going on. Indeed, some countries have even said that they will not pay their full access contributions unless they see greater reform and see the AU become more, transparent and more, beneficial to the African people. So it's good that those discussions are continuing. President Paul Kagame is leading the reforms, and President Mahama has already struck a very good, chord with him, and I'm sure that they will continue to champion those reforms. But ultimately, you may call me an Nkrumahist, but ultimately, we must go back to Kwame Nkrumah's vision of the United States of Africa. That really is what will make the AU strong and more impactful.
I will proceed to give the floor to
my follow-up, please.
Your follow-up on this.
My question. This
very
is
well,
my follow-up.
very well.
Mr. Nominee, let me take you on to social media because you are a key player in that particular area. Social media has become a source of misinformation and disinformation, undermining the ability of leaders in West Africa to mobilize public support for its decisions and development agenda. You are one of the leading politicians who uses social media a lot to get your message and interest across. Looking at the generality of the situation and the concerns across the political divide, what are some of the initiatives that you will promote to overcome this dangerous development?
Well, thank you very much. I take the view that social media is a double-edged sword. It can be a force for good, and then if it's misused, it can be weaponized and used as a destructive element. I think that African leaders should become conscious of the new age, new media, and we should encourage more transparency. My view is that if African leaders and African governments adopt an open governance architecture, if they are more transparent, they are more accountable, then the people will know. Knowledge is power. It will not be easy for the people to be misled. Unfortunately, in Africa, you struggle to get information. If you are not an interceptor general, then God help you, you know. So, Mr. Chairman, I really will say that let's have more open governance. The RTI has been passed in Ghana, but in terms of its success in implementation, there is much to be desired. And then our regulatory bodies should clamp down on those who are misusing social media for disinformation, misinformation. They create fake accounts. And unfortunately, even some governments on the continent are responsible. They have these fake news factories. They pay people to just, you know, put out fake news. Will you believe that on my way to this vetting, few days in the run-up to this vetting, there was fake news all over that I have started deleting my Facebook messages, my Facebook exposés. All over, people were sharing it. And some people believed it, that I'm indeed deleting my Facebook post. Why will I? I'm not a coward. I'm not one to, I stand by my convictions. I'm a conviction politician. So fake news is a real problem. But I think that as for social media, it's come to stay. Let's encourage more open governance, more transparency, and we should be fine with social media.
Thank you very much. I'll give the floor to Haji Aladi Ayamba, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, let me take this opportunity to congratulate Honorable Ablakwa. You've worked hard, right from when I was Deputy National Women Organizer, Europa came, you worked hand in hand with Fifi Kwete and all others. You have never rested on your OS. Thanks to the Almighty Allah, we came to Parliament at the same time, and you have always soared high. I like the energy and the way you have always been able to work. And I would say, indeed, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has done exactly what is expected to him, because he has rewarded hard work for not only the party, but Ghana as a whole, and for all of us. Now, my question is, there is an acronym that has now become an international song. When even people say it, others will begin running. Someone wanted to say helter skelter and said skelter skelter. So, and the acronym is ORAL. Operation Recover or Loot. I know you wouldn't belong to any team that will be doing anything adverse. So far, my observations and what I've seen, it has been good. Because I've listened, I have watched. Now, sooner than later, ORAL as a team needs to have a way forward. What is ORAL going to do so that all the things that you have done, the time, and now that you are not even being paid, you are just doing a yeoman's job, it wouldn't go waste. We would actually benefit from it. And then, can you tell us also, apart from the way forward, can you tell us also, this particular activity that you have undertaken, how much have you saved Ghanaians from these corrupt activities that has bedeviled the country and taken so much from Ghanaian taxpayers? Thank you.
Honorable member, proceed to ask the question. But because we don't have any evidence of evaluation of how much ORAL has been able to save, proceed to answer the question minus that. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Chairman. And let me commend my big sister for her question and thank her for her kind words. She's been one of our mothers. We all go to her for advice, and she's always generous with her counseling and guidance. Mr. Chairman, as I said in my introduction, one of the jobs that I am so proud of, and I'll remain ever so proud of, is this sacrificial job to chair oral, Operation Recover All Loot, which is a major plank in President Mahama's anti-corruption drive. The establishment of oral is such a masterstroke, and President Mahama ought to be commended. I can reveal to you today that since oral was established, just by the establishment of the team and we receiving information from the general public, we have saved this country 20 bungalows which were going to be demolished. 20. And I can provide the list. Bungalows that were being occupied by staff of Research Department of the Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Gender, the CSIR. Bulldozers had moved in, but because they called the Oral Secretariat, and we then called National Security to take action, they were able to protect these bungalows. I have not added the Du Bois Center, the NDA lands, which were about to be captured. So President Mahama has saved this country a great deal with the establishment of oral, and all of us must support oral. Now we are having an international discussion. Many people forget that oral has international dimensions. I need not remind our colleagues here that President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has been an oral champion in the international arena. Why do I say that? He has been advocating for reparation, that our colonial masters who looted Africa, they should bring it back, return our monies, our artifacts, return the loot. So I'm so shocked that our friends who started oral even before President Mahama won the election in the international arena, when they come home, they don't want to hear about oral. This is quite remarkable. You know, and I would have thought that charity would begin at home. You want the Brits and the French and the Dutch and others to return the loot. So let's see some ECOWAS protocols, the AU Charter, a major plank. According to the World Bank, Africa is losing about $88 billion every year. Money, if it stays in the continent, used for the development of the people's welfare, how our continent will look like. So as for oral, all of us must support it. And if you look at what has gone on in this country over the last 8 years, look, I have a tall list of monies that can be retrieved. SkyTrain, we can get our $2.5 million back. Ejapa, we can get our $12 million back. National Cathedral, we can get our $58 million back.
Honorable
PDS,
member, these
SML.
are projections.
Yes.
Are these projections?
Projections.
Honorable member.
Projections.
Honorable
No,
member.
but I think that it's important to contextualize so that, you see, when we talk about oral, people discuss oral in abstract terms. This House, Mr. Chairman, and it's unfortunate that the ranking member is not here. Mr. Chairman, if you pardon me.
Honorable member, is there a document that you want to refer to?
Yes, please, and to also table the document.
You need to seek leave to refer to it.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I want to first secure the document, and then I will table it with your permission. Pardon me, I have quite a number of documents here.
Please, just conclude your answer on this, then we can make progress. Honorable member.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
We have a very tall list today.
Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have found it. It is a report of this House, your report, Mr. Chairman, with all due respect. A report of the ad hoc committee to investigate the procurement contract between the government of the Republic of Ghana and His Highness Sheikh Ahmed Dalmouk Al Maktoum and SL Global for the supply of Sputnik V COVID-19 vaccines. Mr. Chairman, this document, submitted to Mr. Speaker, adopted by this House, August 2021, signed by the Honorable Alexander K. Afenyo-Markin, Chairman of the Ad Hoc Committee. This was their conclusion, paragraph 12.4. Quote, with your permission, Mr. Chairman. The committee urges the Minister for Finance to take steps to recover the money due to the Republic in respect of the amount of $2,850,000 United States dollars, so $2.85 million, equivalent at the time to 16,331,640 Ghana cedis, being the cost of the Sputnik V vaccines that were procured wrongly, adopted by this House. So, Afenyo-Markin, the Honorable Afenyo-Markin, signed this report.
I was part of that committee.
Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Yafo. Yes, I'd even forgotten that. So,
let's make progress.
So, even as a House, we have been doing oral with the support of Honorable Afenyo-Markin, signing documents, also concerned about monies that have been looted that we cannot find. So why will you fight President Mahama when you have some of these reports that you yourselves have signed, urging retrieval from a finance minister? So, as for oral, it has come to stay. The second part of a question about the future of oral. Let me place on record that our job at this point is just to collect the
Honorable
information.
Member, just limit yourself to the scope of the question.
Yes, yes. She asked about the future of oral. It's important. And many Ghanaians have been asking since my appointment. Many Ghanaians have been asking. The way forward for oral. The way forward for oral is that all the information that have come from patriotic Ghanaians, we will be handing over our report soon, in the next few days, to His Excellency the President, the appointor. And then he will decide with his Attorney General on the second phase of oral, which is the execution phase, the retrieval phase.
Thank you very
phase.
much.
So that is the future of oral. Thank you very much.
Question?
Thank you very much. Honorable nominee, I am a lady from a constituency and an MP that has two countries that border us. That is Burkina Faso to the north and Togo to the east. There are a lot of concerns about the unrest, let me use that word, that especially is coming up from the Burkina side. We have a lot of unapproved roads. And because of where we are coming from, you cannot tell who is who immediately. Because we look alike, basically we speak the same language. we are afraid of spillovers because of the, people will say Boko conflict, and I will say the Kusag conflict, because it entails a whole lot. Will you take it on yourself as a minister, if approved, to make sure that you work hand in hand with the two countries, although Burkina Faso has opted out from ECOWAS, but we are well aware that there is some leverage that we should work hand in hand with them. Will you work with them to ensure that we bring an end to these issues? Because those who are there and causing these problems, which can readily escalate, are also human beings and need to be listened to. Will you do that? Thank you.
I can assure you, Honorable Hajia Ladi, that that will be pursued. It is a priority of President Mahama. That's why he's appointed a special envoy to the Sahel in the person of Lieutenant Colonel Beflo Latte. And you are close to the challenge, and I'm glad about how eloquently you speak about it. I mean, those who think we should leave them to be on their own, no. I mean, when the violence escalates, we will be the immediate harboring point for refugees, for even some of these, extremists who will come in with weapons. There are small arms and sophisticated weapons that will, be brought into our jurisdiction. And don't forget, we are already having challenges in Boku. So it presents such a toxic mix. And so if we do not help to quench the fires in these our neighboring countries, we are at real risk. And there will be no stability. And what we have going for us is our stability. Without peace and stability, nothing else can be achieved. It is so fundamental. And so you have our fullest assurances that my marching orders from President Mahama is to support the special envoy to make sure that we are able to pursue peace and get our three neighboring countries, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, back into the ECOWAS fold, and we'll remain committed to that.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Thank you, Chairman. I don't have any further questions. I just wish you all the best, and I do my heart off for you. Thank you, and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I will recognize Alasan Uma.
Thank you, Chairman, for the opportunity. Minister nominee, congratulations, my brother and comrade. Having listened to you and your answers regarding the oral, I know how I could tell the selflessness and patriotic ideals and your initial left-centered ideology. So I want to find out how, now that you are a foreign minister or as a foreign minister, how do you intend to marry the two? Because on the resume, you are the chairperson or chairman of Oral. And you are also becoming, God's willing, the next foreign minister. How do you intend to marry the two? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. A very brilliant
question. Thank you very much, but let me place on record that you are not yet a foreign minister unless you are giving the nod. Thank you. Proceed to answer the question.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. A very brilliant question. And as I indicated earlier, Oral's mandate will continue even from this first phase of information gathering into the second phase of actual retrievals, recoveries, prosecutions. when the Attorney General decides that there is basis for that. Now, your brilliant question about how I can also continue to support the process. Within the international arena, we have mechanisms of recovering loot, which have been shipped to various, havens and destinations. If you take, for example, what happened to the Abacha loot in Nigeria, they needed international collaboration, and the World Bank was very supportive to help Nigeria recover hundreds of millions of dollars of the Abacha loot, particularly from Switzerland and other destinations. So I see my role as a role that will help. I'm not going to say that Oral is behind me. No, even though the next phase, the Attorney General will be leading the effort. But when he calls on me to bring in the international dimension, facilitate how to work with international organizations to retrieve loot in other jurisdictions, certainly I'll be more than happy, relying on the Nigerian model, how they use their international partners to retrieve the Abacha loot. I think that we can also use that to retrieve loot that is hiding in all manner of places for the development of our people. Our people need that money for roads, for schools, for hospitals, for good water, and we have to help them retrieve their money.
Thank you. Any further question? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm satisfied with the answer. My second question is, and this is due to, I don't know how to call it, is it brain drain? Our youth and Ghanaian domestic workers who ran to the Gulf have been abused severally. We see pictures, we see photographs or videos. Want to find out, do you have any plan or what do you intend to do to stop this kind of abuses?
The priority areas His Excellency President Mahama has asked me to pursue, how to make sure that we use our foreign policy to create jobs, but in creating jobs, we make sure that we have bilateral agreements and ensure that these jobs are safe, properly done. So it's not just some agencies who are exploiting, vulnerable Ghanaians because they want jobs. So be rest assured, we are not only going to be verbally condemning what has happened, but we are going to take concrete steps with a new economic diplomacy outlook that seeks to create jobs for our young people in other jurisdictions. Sign proper contracts, bring all of these people within a regulated space, and make sure that our young people benefit. That is the surest way of ending all of this exploitation and the violation of the human rights of our people.
Chairman, I wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you. I give the floor to Honorable Vincent Asafua.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Let me use this. My question to you, Honorable Nominee, is that, and I will try to give a certain background. On the 4th of September, 2021, you granted an interview on Newsfile, Joy FM. You stated that traveling on a private jet jeopardizes the president's security, and that we need a presidential travel policy to regulate how presidents of our republic travels. Now, just a few days after the president of the republic was sworn in, specifically on the 17th of January 2025, His Excellency the President, President Mahama, used a private jet to travel to Gambia. He also used the same private jet to Senegal. Now, my question to you is, will you condemn this action of the president, as you have done in previous times, when presidents use private jets? And if given the nod to become the Minister for Foreign Affairs, when should we expect the presidential travel policy that you proposed to the people of Ghana?
Thank you very much. The first question is, will you condemn, then when you come to office, the travel policy?
Well, thank you very much. It is important for us to put this matter in the proper context. And let us not compare, apples and, if you like, pepper, because you just can't compare them. My campaign against the non-use of the presidential jet, which this parliament approved $37 million at the time for the purchase in 2008 under the President Kufuor regime, was largely about protecting the public purse, a cost-saving concern is what I had. That why do we have a functioning presidential jet in pristine condition, and we will be spending 20,000 euros an hour renting luxury jets? That is the matter I raised, and I have the Hansard here, the Hansard of 16 June 2021. I filed an urgent question, and Mr. Chairman, if you come to column 012 with your permission, I'm not going to read. I'm just summarizing. I know that time is of the essence. You see here from column 012, the Minister for Defense at the time, the Honorable Nitiwo, coming up with all kinds of excuses that you couldn't even shower in our presidential jet and all of that, which we found bizarre. So, put my concerns in proper context. It is about wastage, profligacy, the dissipation of scarce resources. That's the fundamental concern. Now, in the case of President Mahama, President Mahama is using his brother's private jet without paying for it. We are not being charged 20,000 euros an hour by the celebrated entrepreneur and business mogul, Ibrahim Mahama. What the presidency has explained is that in the initial days of the presidency, they asked the Ghana Air Force to present a report, conduct an assessment and present a report on whether the presidential jet was fit for purpose. The Ghana Air Force had delayed in their submission, and in the interim, his brother stepped in. We didn't pay for it. There was no financial loss to the state. I can confirm to you that since the Ghana Air Force presented its report, I remember that on the floor of this house, the former Minister for Defense told us that he can confirm that the jet is in great condition. And I found that very revealing, because when I was on this campaign in 2021, he was telling us the jet wasn't fit for purpose. But suddenly, under a different president, it's such a great jet which can be used. So we are glad that there's been a U-turn. The Honorable Nitiwo has confirmed that the jet is in good use. And I can confirm that President Mahama has since resumed the use of the Falcon 900 EXE, Ghana's presidential jet. Now, on the second aspect of your question about the travel policy, this is a matter that I feel strongly about. And I, if given the opportunity, to sit at cabinet, I will propose that Ghana formulates a presidential travel policy. If you take the United States, for example, when the president uses Air Force One for campaigns, for private use, he is made to reimburse the American taxpayer. So every campaign, they have an independent committee that monitors. If you use the presidential jet for private business, private fundraising, for campaigns, you pay back the fuel, the cost of using it, and all of that. So, and then they also have clear guidelines on who can use those jets and how it should be maintained and all of that. We don't have that. So it is important to pursue that policy. And I can assure you that I remain committed to it, and I think that it is time for Ghana to have a presidential travel policy.
Any further question? But remember, you asked two in one question: condemnation and
have a follow-up.
policy.
I have a follow-up.
You have a follow-up?
Yeah, I have a follow-up.
Very well.
Honorable nominee, granted that His Excellency the former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo engaged in wastage and profligacy, in your own words. On the 29th of March, 2021, while you were paying tribute to the former president of Tanzania, President John Magufuli, on the floor of Parliament, you praised him for placing a ban on what you term frivolous foreign travels by government officials. Frivolous foreign travels by government officials. And if my memory serves me right, you made a post on Facebook allegedly saying that President Magufuli was flying in economy, which turned out not to be true. But now, as a foreign affairs minister...
Please, for the record, I've never put out such a post. Never. I only paid tribute to Magufuli in Parliament. I didn't talk about economy travel. Just for the record, Mr. Chairman.
Nominee, that should be your answer. So allow him to finish asking the question.
Honorable nominee, I'm suggesting to you that you made a Facebook post. And in that Facebook post, you indicated that President Magufuli has been flying in economy, and for that matter, other African countries should also learn from him. Now, as a foreign affairs minister, obviously you will be engaged in a number of travels, specifically outside the country. And I am informed that foreign affairs ministers travel on either first class or business class. Now, if you were to make a round trip to New York in the United States of America with Emirates, you will be paying around 250,000 Ghana cedis on first class. Now, if you decide to do business class, you will be doing about 140,000 Ghana cedis. In your own words, His Excellency the President Nana Akufo-Addo engaged in wastage, profligacy. If you want to do economy, you'll be doing around 27,000 Ghana cedis. Would you decide to use economy class ticket, or you will do business class?
The first question is, did you make that Facebook post?
No, I did not.
He's making reference to contribution on the floor and a Facebook post. And he interjected to say that the Facebook post, no. Is that not it? So now that you have the opportunity to answer the question, Did you make those favorable posts? What was your contribution on the floor?
So my contribution on the floor was to eulogize President Magufuli, and I stand by it. I think he's one of the greatest African leaders we've had, and it's a shame that he didn't live long. I mean, just like Professor Mills, he could not complete his term. And President Magufuli did a lot of things, a lot of cost-saving measures, including even reviewing how they celebrate their national days and all of that, renegotiating, their agreements in the extractive industry and all of that. Great leader, and I admire such leaders who protect the public purse genuinely, not just by rhetoric. Having said that, I would also want to place on record that when given the nod as foreign minister, I shall never, ever rent a 20,000 euros an hour luxury jet. Never, ever. I shall never, ever do that.
Please, Honorable Asafwa, it is not the answer you want.
So you have my full assurances. Now, on the matter of business class economy, Honorable Chair, I am wondering why members of parliament who fly business class don't want a foreign minister to fly business class. I'm really wondering what this is about and where they are headed. But I can assure you, Honorable Chairman, that I don't care a hoot which class I travel. If we get into economic difficulties and there is a policy that ministers should travel economy, I am happy to travel economy, because even as MP, there are times that I travel economy when I can, and I don't see it as a big deal. Indeed, when I met the Venerable Dr. Obeda Samwa, he told me that for the first 7 years, in the heady days of the revolution, as foreign minister, he was flying economy. Didn't take anything away from him. So I really don't care. If there's a policy that let's fly economy. And don't forget that even about cost-saving measures, sometimes it depends on the airlines. As minister, I'll be interested in cost-saving measures. So if there is a travel, it is not only the class that you travel that you can save money. Even the airlines, can KLM take you there cheaper? Can Africa World or Delta or Kenya Airways or Ethiopian Airlines take you there cheaper? Give me the options, and let's look at what is in the national interest. Then size of delegation. I can assure you that what we saw in the recent past, where more than 300 people can claim to be going for a COP27, President Mahama would not tolerate that. So even size of delegation, you cannot decide to fly economy. But if you pack 1,000 people, 1,000 officials, that you are flying economy, you haven't saved the country anything. So we should be more nuanced about these discussions. It's not as simplistic as is being presented.
I recognize the minority leader on a follow-up question. No, it's okay. Very well, he said it's okay. So, Honorable Safwa, your second question.
I would have wished that I would have another follow-up question, but it's fine. Let me ask my second question. Honorable nominee, you should be very familiar with the struggles of members of parliament, especially since the inception of the Fourth Republic. The struggles that they go through with many aspects of their work and life, especially with transportation. You and I are not Accra boys. We all came from our various regions and came to Accra. And so obviously, when you are elected as a member of parliament and you get to Accra, there are issues of transportation for members of parliament. Now, in the 8th Parliament, in spite of these glaring difficulties, that are faced by members of parliament.
Honorable member, your question, please.
Honorable Chairman, with the greatest of respect, just 30 seconds to lay a background. It's not offensive, respectfully. I'm doing so
You call this a 30
on behalf
seconds?
of the people of Ghana, so I beg you, respectfully. In spite of all these difficulties that colleagues go through, you vehemently oppose the grant of car loans to members of parliament. Now I have in my hand a report by the City Newsroom dated the 10th of July 2021. And that publication, the headline that I have in my hand says that government must stop facilitating MPs' car loans. Government must stop facilitating MPs' car loans. Now, did you, as a member of parliament at the time, receive a car loan? And if yes, did you purchase a vehicle with that money?
So, Honorable Asafwa, I want to get the question clear. The City News, how is he attributed to the nominee before us? Because the author definitely is City News.
Respectfully, Honorable Nominee, Honorable Chairman, I made mention of the fact that the Honorable Nominee made a statement which was captured by City News, attributed to the Honorable Nominee, which is the Honorable Ablakwa. So it is a statement that is attributed to him to have said that government must stop facilitating car loans for members of parliament.
Honorable Asafwa, that particular statement, and you proceed to ask your question.
Very much so.
Ask your question.
Very much so. So my first question to you, Honorable Nominee, did you make that comment in an interview that you granted to City News? And if yes, did you receive the car loan? And did you also use that money, if indeed you received it, to purchase a car?
Well, thank you very much for that question. I'm very happy that you bring this up. And I have always maintained that we need to review the car loans arrangement for members of parliament. I am not saying that members of parliament should not be entitled to cars provided for by the state. But the model, how it is done, government going for a loan for MPs, which is then deducted from their salaries. Our colleagues in the executive, our colleagues in the judiciary, there's a car pool where you have access to those cars. And then when you are done with your term or you are being moved to another place, it is left behind for the next person. So I was advocating for a different model because this model, this approach, did not sit well with the vast majority of Ghanaians. And that is a position that I still maintain. Why do we have different regimes? Those who serve in the executive, those who serve in the judiciary, they have a different regime. Nobody is going for a loan.
Walking, he will be able to walk from.
There's a car pool where you can access vehicles for use. And then those in the legislature have a different arrangement. That is what I was opposed to. Now, the second leg of your question. Yes, I received the funds, but I didn't use it for a Land Cruiser. I used it to buy a combined harvester for the rice farmers in my constituency, and the records are there. So you can check that for yourself.
Well, I have a follow-up question.
Any further question?
I have a follow-up question. you were advocating against the model of granting car loans to members of parliament, in your own words. In another breath, you say that you took the funds, you took the car loan, and used it to purchase for a combined harvester. Where is the principle? Something that you advocate against? Something that you advocate against? You go ahead to take it. My question to you, did the farmers pay back that money to you?
Honorable nominee, the question overruled. Please go ahead and ask another question.
My last question to you, honorable nominee. I have had the opportunity to listen to you a number of times, and one of them, I shared a platform with you on TV3. In that interview, you had an opportunity to make a presentation to the people of Ghana, about 30, 40 minutes presentation, where you indicated that there is a supposedly $84 billion. That is a culmination of a number of corruption scandals that, in your estimation, you think that Oral need to pursue that amount of money, $84 billion. Inclusive of that allegation is a drip component that you mentioned. I was a deputy minister for local government, and there was a contract between DACF and JA Plant Pool. Now, as part of the 84 billion, you included in that 84 billion that there is an aspect of it which is a drip component, that you have included it as part of corruption scandals. Now, the contract amount of that drip contract is about $173 million. Now, with that $173 million that you have included in the $84 billion that is supposed to be, or take that for the people of Ghana, how is that a corruption scandal, or how, in your estimation, how is that termed as corruption in your own definition?
Thank you very much. We'll take a short break for just 5 minutes whilst we remain seated. Honourable members, you are welcome back. Honourable nominee, do you want the question to be repeated, or you go ahead and provide an answer?
Well, Chairman, I'll go ahead. I remember the question
Very well, very well.
Mr. Chairman, first of all, the figure I put out in that why oral presentation on TV3, and I subsequently did same on Joy FM's news file. The figure is $18 billion. I selected just about 30 of the scandals that plagued this country. So it's 18, not 84 billion dollars. And then CDs, I should say, 18 billion CDs. And then let me also state that in the work that I did as part of my oversight constitutional mandate into the District Road Improvement Project matter, I discovered a number of infractions. First of all, I discovered that the procurement law was violently breached and mutilated. It was single-sourced under the emergency provisions of the law, which is clear abuse of the law, a clear violation. Then also the pricing. I discovered that the unit price for the drip equipment were outrageously inflated. Because what I did as part of my oversight work was to send an email to the company and to ask for quotations. And when those quotations arrived, it was clear that in some instances, some of the equipment had been doubled, the value of those equipment. So the conservative estimate from the oversight work I did is that Ghana could have obtained those drip equipment if we did it competitively and there was competitive pricing without the inflationary pricing that took place. We could have got them for about $75 million and not the $187 million that we were billed with. And I still maintain that Ghana did not receive value for money so far as the DRIP project is concerned. And finally, let me say that I found the Vice President's conduct in this affair quite problematic. In opposition, he was vehemently opposed to single sourcing, and he did put out consistently posts that single sourcing.
You said the Vice President.
Yes, the former Vice President.
Current or former?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Former Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, who says that he is the drip champion. He says this whole drip thing is his idea. That's what he told the country. And he indeed asked all those who were trying to take credit, including members of parliament, to back off, that it is his idea. In the course of my oversight work, I found his conduct not consistent with what he promised the people of this country, that he will make sure that projects are competitive, that sole sourcing, inflationary pricing will be a thing of the past. It is regrettable, to say the least, that he was not consistent. And when he had the opportunity with this, his flagship DRIP initiative, he departed from what he assured the nation he will do as Vice President. So those are the concerns that I have about DRIP, and I am hoping that Ghana will be able to retrieve some money. Fortunately, only 25% has been paid. Not all the liabilities have been met. So I have encouraged the new Mahama administration to renegotiate the DRIP initiative so that we can save money, because my conservative estimate is that it's been inflated by more than $100 million. And there is a need to save money. $100 million can do so much for an IMF bailout country. There's so much that we can do with $100 million. And I'll encourage my colleague, the Honorable Asifwa, to get close to me. I can share some of the work we have done on this with you. And when you see yourself, I'm sure you'll become an advocate. You'll join me that we should renegotiate the DRIP intervention.
Thank you very much.
I have a follow-up question.
You have a follow-up on the $84 billion, as you said, that he is saying it is 18 billion cedis, and the DRIP.
The follow-up stems from the fact that, one, he indicates that the pricing, in his own words, was outrageous. And it was inflated. And he has done some work, and because of that, in his estimation, the pricing was indeed outrageous. Now, he said he has done some work, and I have also done some work, and I'm happy to share that with you. Honorable nominee, in my hands here is the contract itself, and maybe I'll go into specifics. Government bought a tipper truck for $78,000. So if you say it was outrageous, inflated, now the big question is, what is the market value for such an amount? Now I will take you to Zonda. Zonda is one of the well-noted agencies who sells tipper trucks.
Honorable Asafwa, with all due respect,
My question stems from
he said he has done some work,
and he said it's
and
outrageous.
you have done some work.
Yes.
Now, the amount being outrageous was based on the assessment of the work that he has done, but not your own. So the way you are going about the question, that is what is calling for worry.
Honorable
Because the
Chairman.
work that you have done is not the same as the work that he has done.
Honorable Chairman.
Your indicators may not be the same as his indicators.
Respectfully, I am saying that in the contract, government bought a tipper truck for $78,000. I am also referring the honorable nominee to Zonda, an agency that deals in tipper truck. When you go to Zonda today, Zonda sells a tipper truck for about $82,000 or $83,000. And government bought a tipper truck for $78,000. With this background, how do you term this as outrageously inflated contract? Because I don't see it.
Well, I don't know whether Zonda is the cheapest in the world, but I would ask the nominee to provide a question.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, clearly my good friend, the Honorable Asifwa, has to do more work. As for this work he has done, with all due respect, it leaves much to be desired. For Zonda's trucks, they pay duties. You imported your trucks free of duty. I did an RTI request, and I asked the DACF administrator. Zonda is respect. The oversimplification of matters it's not helpful. And I am willing and ready to submit the work that we did. I say procurement breaches, no value for money, inflationary pricing, and it's a fact. I'm so convinced that Ghana could have saved $100 million. And you should stop comparing vehicles that have been imported with duty and those that you are buying without paying duties. It's not helpful, Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you very much. The questioner said he is also involved. Are you involved?
the greatest of respect, Chairman, please let me be.
Recognize Honorable Shaibu.
Chairman, let me thank you very much for the opportunity. Sami, congratulations.
Thank you very much, my good brother, who supplies me smokes.
Sami, a well-deserved nomination. I wish you very well in this new role. Sami, let's move away from this corruption, oral, and whatever, and get to Pan-Africanism so that you can cool down a bit. A movement that has come to stay, a movement that has taken the whole world. I note that in the last 2 hours, you have mentioned Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Tell us briefly, don't go to your involvement. What's your motivation on Pan-Africanism? Thank you.
Pan-Africanism is the only way the African continent can be liberated. As the Osagifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah said, nobody will care about our fortunes and our destinies more than ourselves. The reason why we are the most endowed continent in terms of resources, and yet we are the poorest, is because we have not taken control, the commanding heights of our economy, as President Achampong will say. The Pan-African agenda is for us to take control of our resources, to chart our own path, not to be pawns, not to engage in proxy wars with others. That is the key to our emancipation and our liberation. And I see in President Mahama a leader who believes in Pan-Africanism. And if you look at his priority areas, even the first countries he has visited, as president, he's yet to go to Europe or Asia or anywhere. It should tell you immediately, you know, where his priorities are and how he remains committed to the Pan-African agenda. And to conclude practically, I think that we should take a second look at our negotiation skills and abilities as a people. And it's one area that I'll be seeking the assistance of a lot of agreements that we get into. And it's clear that we could have gotten a better deal if we had really put Pan-Africanism at the center, looked at the continent's interests, and subjected all other secondary interests, you know, out of the window, we can then get better. And I don't want to go into specifics because of how sensitive these matters are, but really at the core of our retarded development is the fact that we have not really imbibed, you know, the philosophy of Pan-Africanism as the likes of Du Bois, Kwame Nkrumah, Padmore, and others espouse. And I think that the time has come for us to really trace our roots, you know, to genuine Pan-Africanism.
Thank you very much. Any further question? Then I proceed to give the floor to Honorable Jerry Shaib.
Congratulations.
Thank you
well done. Before asking the question, I've made an observation. I just want to run by you. First of all, I've watched you over the period, and I think you have grown very well. And I also think that people have watched you, and you've done very well for yourself. Save that today, before the process started itself, my observation was that you were a bit upset. And throughout the vetting process, you've also used a word like, I don't give a hoot, which I do not think that for a diplomat. Now to my question. I feel that Russia currently has presence in the region, in the region. And the strategies Russia use include the social media propaganda and cyber terrorism. Several media houses have reported cyber attacks to their online portals, which were traced to Russian origin. What's Ghana's foreign policy in reference to Russia wanting to have regional control or influence? And especially against the backdrop that my foreign minister nominee has been in Russia recently to help His Excellency the President launch a book on my first coup d'etat.
Well, thank you very much. And your foreign minister nominee has also been to the United States recently, has been to France recently, has been to the United Kingdom recently, and has been to Ukraine recently. So let's place all of that on record. And I would like to proceed with caution that I do not think that, looking at how sensitive this role is and how, our foreign policy, which enjoins us to pursue positive neutrality, to be friends of all and enemies to none, I do not want to single out any country in this engagement for condemnation. For obvious reasons. I mean, when it comes from some other people, it depends on how it will be taken. But if it comes from me, even if I'm responding to a question, it can be taken as a position of the new government, and it can create a diplomatic row or a tiff or even escalate into something else which we do not want. So I will plead that, Mr. Chairman, you permit me to stay away from condemning specific countries. If you want me to answer generally,
permitted.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Any further question?
That is my foreign minister nominee, and I like the response. My second question, I actually had the opportunity of asking the same question to the transport minister nominee, and it has to do with the third-class treatment Ghanaian passengers face. It's a situation that for me is worrying. We are made to pay high fares, plane fares. We are given third-class planes or aircrafts. We are given terminals that are virtually unused or abandoned. And in fact, we are even served food on planes, which one can easily decline taking those. Mr. Foreign Minister nominee, any assurances as to how you are going to ensure that vis-a-vis what the Nigerians use, what the South Africans use, you are going to have Ghanaians get similar treatment? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Member, for this question. And it's a very important matter. And you will recall, if you go through the Hansard, you will see that this is a matter that I have raised on a number of occasions. And it's a matter we have to address as a country. And it comes back to the earlier point I was making. Our negotiation skills, our negotiation abilities, these airline operators are not doing us favors. They are here for business, to make profit. It's a commercial entity, and it has to be a win-win situation. You see other countries demanding high standards, even the fleet, the quality of the service, and we've had situations where you have airline operators even bring in aircrafts that pose security risk, that are not safe for the use of our passengers. So one of the things we are going to do when given the nod is to collaborate effectively with the various sector ministries. What I like about the foreign service is that we are there for all, we serve everybody, we facilitate everybody's priority and everybody's engagement. So the transport ministry, the various ministries that will be responsible for negotiating some of these terms, including the finance ministry, we will facilitate and help in the coordination. And if we are invited to be part of those meetings, we will state clearly that Ghana deserves better, and we are not going to accept this discrimination. Related to that, another matter I'm very passionate about is how our visa applicants are treated. It's a matter I'm going to address strongly and forcefully. I mean, you apply for visa and you are treated as though you are some slave. Even a decent place, a waiting area. I mean, I see sometimes senior citizens, distinguished ladies and gentlemen of our country, and they are just abandoned there, the vagaries of the weather. They don't care if it's raining or if the sun is so scorching. Nobody cares. These missions don't seem to care. We will not accept that. And we are going to engage with ambassadors that there ought to be respect for our citizens and for our people. So be rest assured that in all of its, variants and features, we will stand up for Ghana and insist that Ghanaians' rights are protected. And it's going to be a major area that we'll focus on as a ministry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further question?
Yes, just a follow-up. I was still going to indicate the issue of visa acquisition. And to still ask, I've seen that you have a broader knowledge of what the issues are, but I didn't see you adduce or give any solutions, because you just behaved like me. I know these are the problems, but what are the solutions? One of which is, are we even considering to expand or extend our visa-free countries?
Yeah, thank you very much. I've been trying to manage, the chairman's restriction of the time and also providing solution. That is why you may not be hearing a lot more, but I can really give you greater detail if I will be allowed by the chair. On visa acquisitions, yes, I believe that we should have more visa waiver agreements. I'm an advocate of that so that we can waive visa restrictions. I am also in full support of permitting Africans to travel to Ghana without requiring visas. And it's one of the final decisions that President Akufo-Addo took. I can commit that after discussions with President Mahama, it's something that's going to continue, because as a Pan-Africanist, he believes in that. We will just have to make sure that we look at all the security aspects so that it doesn't become a medium for all kinds of, unwanted elements coming into our society to undermine the peace and stability which we enjoy. So the ministry is currently looking at the implementation, how to make sure that it works in the best interest of our people. So be rest assured that visa waiver agreements, you are going to see more of that. The last time we approved that of Colombia, South Africa, and I know there are quite a number in the works. We are going to work on a lot more visa waiver agreements.
Thank you very much. Any further question? Your last question.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. So, Honorable Nominee, I've listened to you quietly throughout your submissions. One of the things I picked was your consistent conversation on unity, and basically narrowing it down to African unity. But I also observed that in the president's release, the EI, there was no consideration for Ministry of Foreign Affairs and regional integration. And against the backdrop that the focus is now to some extent on the Sahelian issues, and I don't know, I'm confused. Do you want to expatiate on why we do not have regional integration? And have you had the opportunity of talking to my very senior sister, Honorable Shelley Ayokoboche, on all of this?
Well, thank you very much. You are right that the new EI simply refers to the ministry as the ministry remain a priority area. But the thinking is that let's not limit the scope of the ministry. That name suggests as though the ministry has one focus, even though regional integration is important. So we'll still maintain the Regional Integration Bureau. We are still going to be champions of African integration. Everybody knows that that is Ghana's forte. We are the foremost nation since the days of the Osajefo to advocate for an integrated, united union of African states. So that will remain a priority, but it's just a simple nomenclature issue. On engagement with the Honorable Foreign Minister, you do know, have continued to engage with the minister and her deputies when I served as ranking member. Sometimes because of the oversight, you will understand that relations may not be as great because of the oversight, and how passionate I have been about protecting the public purse. But it is definitely without malice, and I would put on record that we have great working relations. I have enormous respect for her, and I'm going to support her at the Commonwealth, where she has become the Secretary General. And you do know that our flag bearer at the time, President Mahama, put out a formal statement on our behalf, our collective behalf, celebrating her, celebrating the Honorable Shelley Ayokoboche on her electoral victory as Commonwealth Secretary General. So I have nothing against the former minister, and we'll work together within the Commonwealth.
Thank you very much. Very well.
Yes, I'm excited to know that there is a very good working relationship. I want to find out, flowing from that, if you want to be seen to be pushing for such very enviable positions. The Secretary General, I think I remember Honorable Anatetekpora, and Honorable Ibn Chambers, and then now my venerable sister, Honorable Shelley Ayokoboche, and Kofi Annan. I want to see Honorable Okudzeto. Are you going to assure us that it is a path you are going to push?
Honorable member, the question is overruled. You have to determine whether you can do that or not. And it's not a matter that you should be disclosing to the whole world.
How?
Thank you very much.
How is that?
I will give the floor to Honorable Roxanne Nelson Dapamoko.
Chairman, Chairman, ma zamonu popo ma da pe gbogbo na mi o dupo la John Dramani Mahama. Abe ale na otiamiefo Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa be na nye foreign minister na Ghana duko nene.
Mio tonto batoto evoduko vota reji mi dakpo gbogbo na. Togbe jekle pli o duko fi o to bato o dakpo gbogbo na. Ta wizo.
Mr. Chairman.
Babiare kama la sinyo. Babiare kakwe la sinyo nyabe.
Translate.
I will. Let me land. I will translate it perfectly for you. Nyababia kwenyabe na scholarship ya na chodu bubu made ali la wena wa camion of yosio. To wit. Congratulations. The entire Volta region, the town citizens, especially the Bato citizens, they are very proud of you. And Togbe Jekle and his entire chieftaincy council, traditional council, they are proud of you. So you are welcome. Very simple question. How will you make easily available to Ghanaian young men who are desirous of studying, especially postgraduate programs in other countries, scholarships accessible to them? I thank you.
Yo anyaha madakba no. Majiba amashaba na nyaba doya mikata miawe na waja amashaba nu na miava duplola His Excellency John Dramani Mahama Ghana tokata wakpo jijo ba adwa miewe ye miewe nyi ta akpanao. To wit, thanking my brother and assuring the President and the nation that we will work together, we'll work hard to make sure that we do not disappoint the country. Scholarships is a very, very important matter. There are many times I've attended diplomatic engagements and I am approached and told that, oh, we had this 200 scholarships, we had this 400 scholarships. You people are not coming up. The window is closing. What is happening? So I think that moving forward, we need to really pay attention to these bilateral scholarships that many countries provide. And I recall as Deputy Minister in charge of tertiary education, I negotiated the Hungarian bilateral scholarship, which every year 100 Ghanaians are accepted in Hungary for postgraduate studies. That is a sure way of reducing the burden on Get Fund, on Scholarship Secretariat, GMPC and others who are struggling with a narrow fiscal space to sponsor scholarships. If we really revamp our bilateral scholarships and we make it available, practically, what I want us to do is to have a dedicated website where all of these scholarships will be published. The criteria will be provided, and we are actually going to have dedicated officers who will assist our citizens to access these scholarships. There are too many of these bilateral scholarships that people don't know about. And by the time they even get to know, the deadline is over. You know, I know that countries like the UK, the US, China, Japan, South Korea, many of these countries, we have bilateral agreements with them. They have scholarships that often we are not able to take full advantage of. So it's a matter that is going to receive urgent attention. We'll demystify it, have a dedicated website for all of these bilateral scholarships, have dedicated officers who will facilitate the process. And the other innovation that you should also expect is that I want us to look at the passport fee regime again, so that we will create some dispensation which will omit some categories of Ghanaians, particularly brilliant but needy students, from paying passport fees. It should be possible to have them subsidized so that the frequent travelers in the business category, entrepreneurs, the rich applicants, they can pay a little more for expedited service to subsidize the, vulnerable, poor visa applicants. I don't understand why that cannot be part of the package that you receive as a student when you are going on scholarship abroad, because you are classified as brilliant but needy. So why should you be struggling to pay passport fees? I think we can take a second look at the fee structure and exempt our needy students. So these are some of the interventions we will be doing in the area of scholarships.
Thank you. Any further question?
Yes, Chairman. You and Southern, we have very close relationship. So on behalf of my people in Southern, especially in Tongo, Germany, they send their gratitude and they wish you all the best. Germany, talk at Kwabena. Akbar.
Thank you very much. Thank you for taking good care of them.
I then proceed to recognize the Deputy Minority Leader and the Deputy Ranking Member of the committee. Honorable Patricia Piaget.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I seek to yield to the former Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs in the person of Honorable Mavis Nkasa Bodu. Thank you.
Honorable Mavis Nkasa Bodu, you have the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. And let me join the other colleagues on congratulating the Honorable Member. Honorable nominee, let me take you back to the appointment of Lieutenant Colonel Devlolate as a special envoy to the Alliance of Sahel States. I want to find out, as the individual earmarked for this ministry, did the President confer with you before making such an appointment?
Very important question, and thank you, Honorable former Deputy Minister. The sequencing, or that I had not been named as Foreign Minister. We were all wondering what will happen. I know the President kept his cards close to his chest. We didn't know which ministry we'll be serving in, or if we'll even be considered for appointments at all. So it was very early, and I wasn't a Foreign Minister designate. So I couldn't have been consulted.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. So that brings me to my question.
Well, then the one you asked, what is it?
Honorable, I was just...
Please, treat that as your question number one. Proceed to question number two.
That will be a follow-up, Honorable Chair. Thank you very much. So then I want to find
follow-up flowing from the answer.
Yes, please.
That at that time,
yes,
he
definitely.
was not
in regards
nominated.
to his appointment as the special envoy to the Sahel states. Yes, so then, Honorable nominee, I want to find out from you, can you take us through the step-to-step mission of this special envoy, considering the fact that all these three states are headed by military leaders, and the intervention by ECOWAS, their exit from ECOWAS, and our continuous membership with ECOWAS? Thank you.
If I heard you accurately, is it about his mandate? His mandate. Okay, thank you very much. First of all, Lieutenant Colonel Devlolate is a good uncle of mine, and so if you are probably concerned about working, when he was National Security Coordinator, I was Deputy Minister for Information, and we worked together. So we have had a long-standing, very cordial and warm working relations, and I can proudly say he's one of the people that I look up to and I admire greatly. In terms of his mandate, as the statement issued by the presidency indicated, he is to help in restoring diplomatic relations in helping with the efforts by ECOWAS and all of us member countries to bring them back into the fold. And then also to look at the security implications of their breakaway. Remember that Bevlolate is a security expert, former AU envoy on counterterrorism. And so he brings a lot of expertise to bear to help us, because everybody, all the experts are saying that the terrorism is coming down south from the Sahel, and if we don't act fast to stem the tide, we will be consumed in no time. And that's why under President Akufo-Addo, you initiated the Accra Initiative, to deal with the threat of violent extremism from particularly the Sahel. So his mandate is to open dialogue, and in diplomacy, dialogue is key, is really fundamental, and to help in bringing them back to the fold, whilst at the same time addressing the security challenges that the Sahel is posing to us as a country. So that's his mandate.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. This will be my second question. Honorable nominee, let me start by saying that there's no malice intended with this question. I just want you, I'm sure a lot of Ghanaians would want to know. So then, some Ghanaians, the population have described you as someone who is a populist. Some have also said that you're a propagandist. Others have said that you are quick to come out with information without verifying. I want to find out if the international community is supposed to go by this narration of you. What would you do, or what would you say today to put them at ease? Thank you.
Thank you very much for this question. If these are qualities that saves a country billions and billions of dollars, then we should encourage more of these qualities. And I'm sure the international community will be happy to know that there is a potential foreign minister from Ghana who is committed to meeting UN goals, AU goals, the goals of the international community in combating, corruption, waste, state capture, and that integrity, is a quality that we all should really encourage and aspire to. And I can also place on record that in all of the work that we have been doing, we have not injured anybody's reputation. We verify, we make sure we validate. And you know me, that if I have not intercepted the right documents, done the right analysis, I don't put out what is, just imaginary or conjecture. I make sure that it is credible and unimpeachable. So please be rest assured that our foreign policy and the foreign ministry will be well regarded by His Excellency John Dramani Mahame's appointment.
Thank you, Honorable Nominee. So in a nutshell, what you are seeking to tell Ghanaians is that you are taking off a new leaf?
Honorable member, he's answered the question that if that description will fit into his international relations, then it's good for all of us. So it doesn't suggest that he's taking a new leaf.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. You couldn't have put it better.
Okay, so then it's the old Okudzeto Ablakwa that we know. All right, so Honorable Chair, that will take me to my last question, which will be to find out from the Honorable Nominee. So then in the past, your predecessor, Honorable Shirley Ayoku Botchwey, has showcased made in Ghana goods and services and products. I want to find out, and she has done that through diverse ways, and one way is through the bazaar. I'm sure you're very much aware of it as a ranking member of the Foreign Affairs Committee. I want to find out if it's something that you plan on continuing. Thank you.
I can assure you, Honorable Nominee, Honorable MP, pardon me, that this is a an area that will be pursued. Cultural diplomacy is really important. Kwame Nkrumah talked about the African personality, that we must be proud of who we are and showcase that to the world. And Ghanaian culture is always talked about in the international arena. When people come to terms with our culture, they are always enamored, always out, and it really projects us positively. So please be rest assured that all of those initiatives and more will be pursued, working in close collaboration with the Ministry of Creative Arts, Culture and Tourism. And I'm glad that Mamaga Jifagomashi herself is here to offer full support. And we have great working relations. We'll work together to promote cultural diplomacy.
Thank you very much. I will proceed to give the floor to Honorable Kweku Ricket Hagan. You have a follow-up question on whether or not you pursue what the predecessor Well, then that is a different question you want to ask. Well, go up with your follow-up. And if it is not a follow-up, you know the consequences.
So the Honorable, thank you very much for your answer. I wanted to find out, since we are talking about exports and our local producers, I want to find out, leveraging on our trade blocks, I want to find out how you promote these exports and also in turn bring in foreign exchange. Thank you.
Two pillars will be utilized for this. The Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, I think that we really have to leverage that. And then President Mahama's 24-hour economic policy. You know, he's appointed the Venerable Guzi Tano to coordinate the 24-hour economy vision of the president. And this is aimed at industrialization. And to industrialize, you must add value to what you produce. And so the 24-hour economy and the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Remember that President Mahama has said that he will chair the Africa Continental Free Trade Area objectives himself. And so these will be the two pillars which are used to promote our trade and how we add value and diversify our economy.
Thank you. So, Honorable Vice.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa, my brother, congratulations. I'm so happy that you are going to be doing this work. I got people call me because your work on anti-corruption has earned the admiration of a lot of people, of us, including His Excellency the President. And we believe that it's as a result of that that this whole aura was created, and you were the one in charge of it. Leader, we don't ask questions like that. And people are beginning to wonder, when you got your new portfolio, that you have become the face of aura, and you are going to move on to foreign affairs. But I think you have said something today that I believe people who are listening to you, that the fight for anti-corruption actually has a lot of tentacles, and that there's actually a foreign angle to it. So you are now going to be placed, Aura is now more or less gone global. You are going to be placed at a position where you will be able to explore the foreign angle of it in terms of properties outside, people have purchased ill-gotten wealth, in terms of monies stashed away elsewhere. All these things are going to come, you know, and I think that Aura will actually be stronger for the position that you have. You have done a lot of work that I think you should be celebrated. I remember our fight on the sale of SNIT asset. The National Cathedral is one of them, air travels of the executive, and actually purchase. All right, just forget about the distraction. And the purchase of actually properties, you know, for foreign missions outside that obviously did not go the way it should. And I think that we should take this opportunity to actually thank you and celebrate you for the good work that you have done for this country in not only protecting the national purse, but in your case, you're actually saving the national purse. And you must be commended for that. Actually, you know, my sons admire you, and they send their congratulations. Now, the first view I want from you is to do with our foreign mission properties outside, and which has a fiscal implication on our budget. Under President Mahama I, a work was done in basically doing an inventory of all our foreign properties outside, the ones we own outright and the ones we lend or lease. And I think these things will be at the ministry when you get there to see what was done. And that we have a lot of money or properties that we have bought that are very expensive. These things started on Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah when we gained independence, where our foreign mission properties were actually bought in prime areas. And these properties actually cost millions of dollars. Now, over the years, some countries' activities we do there are not as busy as we do elsewhere. So the question is whether some of our properties elsewhere should actually be sold to buy properties, permanent properties, where we are actually very active. And to be able to save money, because we have a lot of litigations out there where we have properties, Mr. Speaker, as leaders are giving time to, as this is a very important one, because there's a lot of money that is being spent out there that comes from our budget. I mean, on recurrent expenditure, we spend about $1 billion a year, across 71 or so foreign missions. So some properties we rent, and actually we have properties, because I was part of that work that was done on President Mahama I. Some properties that we have, again, in countries and in prime places that we no longer have an embassy. And the properties are still there, being used by other people. And in some cases, we pay property taxes for those properties. And some properties we rent in some countries, we should actually be buying those properties because they go and find. What is your view on that in terms of making sure that we streamline our portfolio across the world and make sure that the properties we have are used efficiently and in places, and they need to be accommodated to make sure that we have adequate accommodation for our, people on a mission outside. So I want to take your view on that before I continue. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Majority Leader, for your very profuse words of praise and encouragement. I'm really, really encouraged. In recent times, it's as though those of us rather who want to protect the public purse, we are becoming public enemies. People want to come after us, and they've left the looters, to enjoy their loot. So I really want to thank you. This is really not common in our country these days. On the substantive question of inventory and our assets abroad, I am glad that you are part of the team that did that. Work, and I'll be happy to ask for the report and to study it. As ranking member, budget cycle raising on the floor that if you paid regard to how much we were spending on rent, if we had purchased properties, it will have saved the taxpayer. We will have, in terms of the economics, it makes more sense to own rather than be renting. So on the other suggestion of selling the assets, you know my position on state assets. I'm currently promoting a protection of state assets bill. I've brought it back to the 9th Parliament, and there are a number of colleagues on both sides supporting me in that quest. And so I certainly cannot be seen, selling any diplomatic property. I can make a pledge here that under my watch, no diplomatic property will be sold. They will rather be protected. And I think that if you look at the analysis, we need more. There are too many foreign service officials who are renting and are being harassed by landlords across the world. And we have to look at that. You make a genuine observation about countries where we no longer have diplomatic presence, but we have purchased items. The history is that this occurred during the economic crunch in the 1980s when the Dr. Obeda Samoa era under President Rawlings, they did a realignment and to cut down on our expenditure on our missions abroad. But even though we do not have diplomatic presence, we can fashion out a way where those assets are not just allowed to rot. They can be put in good shape and rented, and then it raises money, good IGF for the ministry. So it's just about being innovative. So I would rather that we should, because you see, today you don't have diplomatic presence, but tomorrow, the need will arise. The exigencies of the time will ask you to rethink and re-establish diplomatic ties. So I would say let's keep all our assets. We don't have enough. We need to even build on what we have inherited. But certainly we'll look at the report and then see how we acquire more assets and then reduce the annual expenditure on rentals. It's really killing this country, and it's something we have to deal with. In conclusion, I must also point out that we have observed that there are some of the assets that we have even lost. If you go to the UK, for example, poor record keeping has led to some of our diplomatic assets being lost over the years. And it's one area that I want to pursue strongly to recover what has been lost, even if we have to wage, a strong legal battle to take it back from the encroachers. We need to do that. And as I said earlier, as for selling of these assets, please be rest assured that it's not something I believe in.
Let me follow up on this. And I think I do agree with you, though selling is an option, but I know your position on that. Perhaps what we can do, as it's been done in other places, is to rent the property at the prime place to get something somewhere else in the same country that is cheaper, so that the rent we earn from there can be used to pay for that property and actually get a balance out of that and save money. Now, my next question, as part of the follow-up, is actually to do with our trade attachés. You have defense attaché, trade attaché, and all the others. Now, what happens is that these officials come from their various ministries, like defense, like trade, and they are posted to London, US, and other places to help the mission over there to either promote trade or in the defense, the least say about it, the better, about what they go there and do. We know they do very important work there, but because of the sensitive nature of it, I wouldn't, yeah. Now, what happens to them? Because they draw, the foreign affairs or the mission draws their salaries, goods, and services from your ministry through the national budget. And these attachés also draw theirs from their various ministries. Now, when they get to London or US, they come under your mission over there. And then many of times they are not looked after properly in terms of looking for a place to stay and all that, or they don't even have adequate budget like you make provision for all that. So I think in the future going forward, we should look at how we can work together to make sure that the people we sent out there, if they don't belong to your mission and they are coming from elsewhere, they are able to fuse them together to make sure that they have adequate resources to do the very important work that will support you as being the ambassador out there to bring investment and trade and all that home. This you can take as an advice. The third one, and that will be my final one, is to do with, as you mentioned, and His Excellency the President. I'm very glad he had made that he's going to take the African continental trade under, his own leadership. The headquarters of the African continental trade sit here. We have done agreements, various agreements that we've signed around the world, but we don't actually prepare, especially in terms of the diplomacy side of things. So we go and sign all these agreements that in the end doesn't benefit us, but it benefits the people we've signed the agreement with. AGOA is one example. African continental free trade, as building themselves up to be able to take advantage. But we have been slow at it because the diplomacy has also been slow. The trade side is there, but the diplomacy should lead everything else. We have some African countries around us, especially our neighbors, who have moved from democracy to military rule after their ratification. Some have recently left ECOWAS, which means that relationship with them needs to be re-energized, and that requires some foreign diplomacy, and that is by yourself when you get the nod, not if. So I want to know from you how you are going to make us a leader through trade diplomacy on the African continent, through the Pan-Africanism that we talk about and the development of Africa. We do about 2 or 3% of trade among ourselves. We have now created a single market, and that single market requires diplomacy to nurture it before the trade actually comes in. So I want to know your view on that, in how you promote the trade diplomacy to be able to feed into this so we can actually take advantage of having the headquarters of the African Continental Free Trade here and lead it to make sure that we build trade. And you know the problems we have in this country, debt is swallowing us, Ghana is almost broke and all that. These are some of the things that we need to do, including, what is it called, all the other things that we plan to do in 24-hour economy and all that, for us to be able to grow our economy again. But I should end by again congratulating you. God bless you. I know you do a fantastic job, and I know that the international tentacles of ORA will still keep you on the ORA job. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ricketts Hagan. And let me state that I've been really impressed with your lecture. It was not a question, it was a lecture. and I'll say the President, that when we are putting together the ministerial advisory board, if you wouldn't mind serving on the board, I would like you to be close to me so that as a country, if you look at how we are struggling currently economically, then if you consider other factors, the ILO, for example, and the IOM have all confirmed that in 2023, we saw the highest rate of deaths on the Mediterranean. Young Africans who crossing over to Europe are dying, about 150,000. And those numbers are, according to the experts, even conservative estimates, because there are many who die and they are not even detected. You know, so we really have to prioritize trade diplomacy. And that's why in the NDC manifesto, we have said that we will make that a priority. There are many of our missions without trade attaches. We have said that we will send them and occupy those positions. But most importantly, we will also retrain them, build capacity. And then earlier I talked about KPIs. They will also be given clear targets. So you are not just posted, you know, and we don't know what you are bringing back home, what we are getting from you. Many people have not averted their mind to the inward-looking policies that we are witnessing now on the global arena. If you take, for example, the recent Donald Trump executive orders, if you begin to quantify the impact on our continent, the last time I was engaging officials of the WHO, in terms of even the Global Fund, which has been a major player so far as our health priorities are concerned. The analysis showed that the WHO will lose about $450 to $500 million every year. If every month, I think I was told, if this executive order remains in force. So what that means is that we can no longer continue to be relying on handouts and aid from other countries. We must really take our destinies into our own hands and forge a path that is self-reliant, that will really lift our people out of poverty. And that is where this trade diplomacy comes in. And the literature is clear that over the decades, aid hasn't worked. What we really must promote is trade. Trade, not aid. So these trade attaches will now take a very serious look at it, build capacity, make sure that there are clear KPIs, and within the larger ambit of economic diplomacy, where in our manifesto we talk about formulating a blueprint for the first time in our country's history. We will do all of that with clear targets so that trade diplomacy will work for our people, will help to improve the living conditions of our people and create jobs for our people.
Thank you very much. It's now the turn of Minority Leader.
Honorable nominee, you took the leave of chair to make some preliminary observation, largely on my press conference, and referred to how you felt about it and how your wife felt about it. I think Chairman largely addressed the issue in another way, which was acceptable to me, because we're all having our own challenges that we couldn't have communicated. But I think the effect of my political statement was to the effect that our side had no proper understanding of yesterday's arrangement. However, let me unconditionally apologize to your wife for how my press statement conference came about. I mean, how she felt about it. I mean, I'll feel bad if somebody said something about my own wife, and it's fair, all right? These are not ego matters. So I'm sorry to your dear wife, and how my press conference was carried out, you felt. I also say sorry to you. I would have utmost respect for you. I will be the last person to run you down, okay? So I'm sorry, and I'm sorry to your wife one more time. Is that okay?
Yeah, very okay, and we are grateful. Thank you very much.
Very well. That's settled. You have expressed concern about the state of the public purse, the state of the economy, and the need for us as public officers to be mindful of costs. Can you, without prejudice, assure the nation that true to those values you hold dear, you will to fly economy and nothing more?
In my private capacity, when I'm traveling, I fly business economy because of the state of the economy. I am happy to do that, and if I can top up with my own resources, as I have been doing already in my private travels, I do travel business, not first class, business. I'm happy to do that. But as I said earlier, in this discussion, we must be more nuanced about it. I believe we can even achieve more savings with the size of delegations, with frequency of travels, with even the kind of airlines, the kind of airlines
Please,
that we use.
Honorable nominee, you know, in the past, there's whole perception that leader keeps nominees for a long time. I would try to be very specific. So limit yourself as well so that you don't create more room for follow-ups, which would make your guests uncomfortable and your party members may think I have some personal agenda. So please pay attention and let's have a good conversation. So just to rephrase it, would you want to take a personal decision to fly economy, even if government policy is for you to fly business?
I don't see what that achieves. It's totally unnecessary. I will save costs on travels using other mechanisms. I'll watch the size of delegation. I'll make sure that there are many ways that we can save money, and those are the matters I will pursue, and we will save even more money for the country. I really don't see where this economy discussion is going to.
You have become aware that the President of the Republic, our President, recently traveled to Gambia, and the Republic of Senegal by using his brother's private jets. You become aware of that, correct?
Yes.
You are aware that you have a strong view on. Do you think that although there is no for the President of the Republic to be flying on official duties with his brother's private jet?
I have long advocated for the need for Ghana to have a presidential travel policy. And I've said that even in cabinet, it's a matter that I will pursue. And so the ideal situation, if we have a presidential travel policy, in some countries they've even, passed them, enacted them into law, where there are clear guidelines and the do's and don'ts. But now, it doesn't exist. And any day, the good people of Ghana will go for a free, brother trip as compared to a 20,000 euros an hour chartered jet where the Ghanaian taxpayer suffers.
So you agree with me that though the state did not pay for the president's travel by use of his brother's private jet, it costs his brother money to fund the trip of his brother to Senegal and the Gambia. You agree with me?
Air travel comes with costs, aviation fuel, landing rights, all kinds of fees you have to pay. So yes, it definitely comes at some cost.
In view of that, it is inappropriate for a brother to bear the cost of the president's travel. You would agree with me that it's inappropriate, given the circumstances.
If you can clarify your question, I don't see why you would say it's inappropriate.
I will clarify. Just
Honorable members, the question is whether it is inappropriate for a brother to sponsor a trip. Honorable members, as for a gift from a brother, you can hardly reject. So to ask the appropriateness or otherwise, I have a difficulty about the question myself.
Mr. Chairman, the nominee wanted me to provide clarity. I will provide the clarity to the question. So the foundation is, in your own words, it is not proper for a president to travel on a $20,000 an hour jet. We need a policy to guide presidential travels. But for the time being, there is no policy. According to you again, the president traveled to the Gambia. That is President John Dramani Mahama, our president, private jet, which travel came at a cost to his brother. You've given a breakdown: aviation fuel, the cost of landing, all those associated costs, salary, allowances of the pilots, the air hostess, all those who are hosted, not only the president, all those officials in the aircraft. His brother bore that cost on the president's behalf. Me, I have a patience to tolerate. You don't. You don't. You can't accommodate me, but I can. Don't you think that the actions of Mr. President in the circumstance as available to us was inappropriate?
I do not think so.
Respected colleague, you have told this committee that you used your car loan to buy a combined harvester for the farmers in your constituency. Yes. You had a car loan in 2013, 2017, and 2020. Please share with us which of them you used in buying the combine harvester. Is it the 2013 one? Each parliament, an MP is giving a car loan. So I want to know from you, which of them you used to buy a combine harvester for your farmers?
I was making specific reference to the 2021.
In fact, the question was specific reference to 2021.
So, may I know from you that 20 give the name of the automobile company that you intend to buy from. You provide the name to Parliament, and then Parliament will issue the check directly to the automobile company because the check is not issued in your name. Now, let me ask you, the letter you wrote to Parliament in respect of you drawing this amount for your car loan, how did you draft the letter and what was the content?
This procedure you talk about is a procedure not known to me. I'm aware that there are a good number of MPs, majority on your side actually, who have used their car loans for other matters. You are aware of the reports under former Speaker Okwe, those who use it to pay their children's school fees, you know, children abroad and all of that. And I don't know how they then drafted their letters to automobile companies when they used those monies for school. I don't really see. And my farmers, my rice farmers are really grateful. So I really don't know about this procedure you're talking about.
Honorable member, and I'm happy that we're having this exercise, and I just want Chairman to pay attention to this. Honorable member, I am being very specific to you. If you say, I am aware, at this point, I am not on oath. If you say, I'm aware some people used their monies for children's school fees, other things, on my side, you see, then we'll be getting into a certain arena. People may not appreciate when I want to now delve into it, provide evidence of those people, then they also come and defend themselves. So I would plead with you
I'll be happy to provide.
No
I have the
problem.
list.
Okay, that's fine.
I can provide.
That's all right. Then I'll be happy to know. I'll be happy for you to provide. But for the time being, let's deal with you. And then if it pleases you that because you are not the only guilty person and that there are other accomplices, that's fine. Because you are saying that people use it to pay their children's school fees. You use yours to pay for buy a harvester. So blah blah blah. So I am dealing with your situation. I am dealing with your situation. I don't know of others. So I want to know how you procured the
Minority Leader. I will again plead with you. I have a cause to even make an appearance for some members of parliament before the office of the special prosecutor. So if we can veer from this and make progress, it will be in the interest of the entire parliament of the Republic of Ghana.
Chairman, with respect, I would be very, very firm and I would not allow any attempt for a scene to be created. I'm very guided. I'll respect you. I know what I am doing. I'll be very respectful. Please allow a process to go on. Honorable nominee answered. I'm not bringing this up. He said that in 2021, he used his car loan to purchase a combine harvester. I'm not vetting any other person apart from him. And I'm limiting myself to him, and I'll show him utmost respect as our chief diplomat. Honorable nominee, this combine harvester that you purchased for your people, with your car loan, they access that money. Please share with us the process you undertook to access that money.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to provide that. You do know that in our offices, our RAs are responsible for all of these administrative enterprises. So, Mr. Chairman, if you will allow me, I'm on oath. I do not want to make statements because I don't have those documents here.
Nominee, let us all trade cautiously. Be brief in your answers.
Honorable.
Yeah, no, but Mr. Chairman, I'm seeking your your ruling. Am I allowed to submit that later? Because I don't have those letters here.
No, I don't mind.
Yeah.
To make it available to us
Because
later.
I didn't draft those letters.
That's all right. So, Chairman, can you talk to your people? It would make the thing mad. Can they be quiet? You. Honorable nominee, whilst we give you time to furnish us with the letters that you wrote to Clerk of Parliament, did you, in the letter, state, to the best of your memory, did you state to the clerk that your money, instead of using it to buy a car, which was why the state grant?
I've been very open and transparent about my dealings, and I do not want to engage in guesswork. I have said that I will submit all the necessary documents on this particular transaction. So I will not engage in any guesswork. But I volunteer this information. I've talked about it time without number. Everybody comments to you. But for now, I will not engage in any guesswork because I don't have the documents here.
2013, your car loan, did you access it?
I must have done that.
Can you share with us how you access that?
Again, I'll have to retrieve those documents for you.
Chairman, with your leave, I would stay questions on that to enable our respected colleague to bring documents in respect of how we access his 2013 car loan. Meanwhile, in 2013, you were a Deputy Minister of Education, correct?
Yes, I was.
In your work, you had access to an official saloon car and an official four-wheel drive as a Deputy Education Minister, correct?
Yeah, correct.
At the same time, you had a four-wheel drive purchased for you by Parliament, correct?
That's a car loan, so I don't know
yes,
how you are
very
defining that. It is deducted from our salary, so I think that it has to be, the context has to be,
Yes, I would, Honorable Nominee, don't worry. I would be fair as much as possible. Car loan, that's why I use the word car loan. So the ordinary meaning of a loan is that you will pay back. And we know that the car loans that we access, they deduct from our salary within the 4 years. So I will get to that point. Now, when you served 2013 to the Ghanaian public that you had access to an official four-wheel drive, had access to a saloon vehicle, and then on top of it, another four-wheel drive, which was a car loan from Parliament. Now, when did you get the opportunity to purchase it?
I didn't put in an application to purchase it. That was available as an option, but I didn't. Avail myself for it. So I left it behind. But under this policy is
emphasis.
So for emphasis, all my
emphasis.
official cars were left behind. I didn't apply to buy any of them.
So as at 2017, the only vehicle available to you was your four-wheel drive that Parliament bought for you, which there was deduction, correct?
Honorable Minority Leader, the nominee keep on saying it is a car loan, and you are using the word Parliament bought for you. Let's not create a different impression in public. So let's restrict ourselves to a car loan before the impression is created in public as if Parliament buys the car for us.
Let's come to 2017. Again, you won election and you came to Parliament. 2017, again, the state made available a car loan to you. Did you access that car loan for your second term in Parliament?
Yes, I did.
Did you buy a four-wheel drive with it or some other cars?
I stayed within the quantum available. So because I had the Land Cruiser for the previous term, this time I purchased 2 2 salon vehicles, but I stayed within the parameters. I didn't exceed, yeah. Because you know that some
Yes.
people do pickups and all of that, yeah, so.
Honorable member.
Yeah, for clarity.
Yes, with respect to you, please help me by limiting it to only yourself. Because when you say other people, that's where chairman doesn't want me to go there, so that we don't introduce whistleblowers and other people's rights. So it's you now for the time being. Is that okay?
No, it cannot be okay. It's important to put things in proper context. People must know that there are these options available to all of us. People are taking different decisions. Some are doing a pickup or 2 pickups, or a pickup and a Land Cruiser, or a salon car, and all of that. So it is important to put things in proper context so that the wrong impression is not created.
So for 2017, you used your car loan to buy 2 salon vehicles. You've just told us that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which salon vehicles are you referring to?
A salon vehicle is a salon vehicle. I can provide the details and my CAN number, but I don't.
You wrote to Parliament. Which letters you use in